Welcome to the Browns preview show. This is all we've been waiting for. It is finally here. We are finally in the building, and it is Kansas City Chief Week. We've been waiting for this since the schedule came out. We've been waiting for this since last year, and I'm with you. And I'm also with my man, John Kosko. He got the crisp background ready to go.
Yeah.
Pro Football Focus has fully endorsed him. He got the polo on. We got the Sunday's best. Look at the brown titanium gray. Yes, that's Nike on the side. I got the coach's jacket. And yes, if you did not know, the champ is in the building. The people's champ is in the building. We ready to go. And let's get right off into this, man. John, how you feeling this week? How you feeling this week?
I'm doing great. Just ready for this regular season to finally be here. You know, we waiting 6 months for football action to finally be back, and 7 months now, and it's here. So, you know, the hopefully the Cleveland Browns Super Bowl run starts on Sunday. So I'm stoked.
Listen, we here, we ready to roll. Let's get right off into the situation. Let's talk about it first. Before anything, let's get into this overview. You know, right now we've seen a lot what the Cleveland Browns have done in the offseason. Let's talk a little bit about the overview of this season. You know, the Browns are for once one of the main, I would say one of the main players in the AFC and the entire NFL. You know, they've shown us through their pocketbook, they've shown us through who they drafted, and they've shown us basically as we see them in the preseason. They've shown that they are a contender. What are your thoughts and what do you think of the overview and what to expect from the Cleveland Browns moving forward in 2021? Are they really legit contenders for once?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we expect them to be in the playoffs this year. And then when you get to the playoffs, you have a chance to compete for the Super Bowl. You know, over at pff.com, we have our power rankings. Right now, we have them as number 7 team, you know, which I actually kind of think is maybe a little bit
low.
I think it's a little bit low. But regardless, I mean, it's all on paper. I think the team on paper looks excellent. The defense needs to come together and gel together. That's going to take some time, and you don't have a really good week 1 matchup to kind of get that figured out. But the offense should be, you know, firing on all cylinders right out of the gate. So I think, you know, we project the Browns to win over into double digits this year, have like a 72% chance to make the playoffs, and even an 8% chance to win the Super Bowl. It's like the 5th best odds to win the Super Bowl, you know, for preseason ranking. So, I mean, it's all out there for them to take. Obviously they have to try to beat Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs in the playoffs, not just week 1, but in the playoffs. And you're going to have to, you know, get by the Ravens and the Bills as well, who are going to be, you know, absolute contenders for the Super Bowl this year's in the AFC. So it's an exciting year for the Cleveland Browns. And I think that's, you know, you look at all the moves that they made this offseason, they did a lot of good things to get that defense in position, not just for this year, but for the future to be in that championship caliber level. And the offense, they did that last year, and they made a few minor things in terms of they're getting OBJ back, and then they added Anthony Schwartz and some other draft positions that they got. So that's kind of like what the you know, general overview of this team is. You expect them to make the playoffs now. It's no longer let's hope they can make the playoffs. You expect them to be there, and then when you get to the playoffs, you can, you know, then hope to make it to the Super Bowl.
You know, the defense has made a lot of adjustments, brought in a lot of people, a lot of extra guys, and really some name brand guys. You know, last year we knew the offense was pretty much carrying the defense, and, you know, they didn't have the personnel that they wanted to run on the defensive side of the ball. Now this year they have a lot of upgrades at you know, in the draft at JOK, Newsom, you know, John Johnson, Jadeveon Clowney. What group do you think has more potential moving forward, the offense or defense, and meaning that who has the finished product at the end of the year, who might be the best out of the two groups, offense or defense, when it all matters?
Well, you hope the offense, and I do think that the offense is going to be the more finished and better product. Even if you have a top 10 defense, which is great, if you can't pair that with a top 5 offense, you're not going to be winning the Super Bowl. So I think the Browns, their offense last year made the strides that you wanted to see them make in a single season. And then this year, you just basically putting finishing touches on it. You're expanding the playbook so that you can open up things for Baker Mayfield and his offense, and to get defenses more confused. I think the defense is going to see more improvement, because I think we saw the improvement from last year for the offense. The defense might struggle coming out of the gates, and they might be okay coming out, but you're not going to be this. We project the Browns to have a top 5 defense in the NFL. At secondary, we have them as number 3 secondary. That might not be the case, week 1. You want that to be the case, come week 17, 18, and into the playoffs. And I think they can get there, but it's just gonna take some time.
The offensive game plan, the offensive matchup, and the offensive players that we will look to see to make plays in this game. And we'll start with the offensive side of the football, and nobody bigger than Baker Mayfield. One of the things that we talked about a little bit prior to this is, hey, what is this offense going to be? What is the identity? And when you look at it, Baker was probably one of the best rated quarterbacks, at the end of last year. And I look at Baker Mayfield as the key to getting the Browns where they need to go. And especially you playing against a game where you're going against Patrick Mahomes, Baker Mayfield has to be able to hit the plays that he's supposed to hit. If he's playing at the level and the tail that he was playing at the end of last year, I think the Browns have a good chance anywhere and against anybody on the field in terms of what his playmaking ability has shown to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Baker Mayfield, from week 7 on, was the number 2 graded quarterback at PFF. He was, and it wasn't on fluke stuff. It wasn't on things where the offense was protecting him. Kevin Stefanski opened up that playbook as the season went along. Yes, the first, say 8, 9, 10 games, they were doing a lot of that play action boot, protecting him with the play action game and running it a bunch. But as the season progressed and as he showed growth in this offense, they opened up that playbook. They started running a lot more out of the shotgun. They started showing a lot of RPO, not a lot, but some RPO, some play action stuff out of the shotgun where they trusted him to just drop back and throw it. And he was able to do that. There was people you look at those numbers that he had, they weren't, top tier numbers, but think about it. He had a 20-1 touchdown to interception ratio in that second half of the season from week 7 on. That's kind of what you want to see out of Baker Mayfield. And you're exactly right. Like he's the guy that's going to drive this ship. And he has the weapons to be able to do that. And I think what we'll see from Baker Mayfield is just continued growth in this offense and just continued good play.
I'm really excited to see a couple of things. I really think that this offense is a little bit different from what the Kansas City Chiefs saw back then. Right now, you're going to get a full-fledged wide receiver core. You're going to see Jarvis Landry, who's not injured anymore. You're going to see Odell Beckham Jr., who by all reports is going to play week 1. You're also going to see a guy who I think really has progressed in Donovan Peoples-Jones that you really are going to have to pay attention to. He's really stepped his game up. And obviously, one of the guys that I really think they're going to have to pay attention to is, I think Kevin Stefanski knows if he wants to go back a little bit and check the tapes. Sometimes, there are a few times I think he wish he would have ran the ball in certain circumstances and established that more often. One guy that we haven't talked about a lot and we haven't seen all year is Nick Chubb. What type of year can Nick Chubb have? And do you think that they're going to be able to get him the ball with a little less box, not 9-10 guys in the line of scrimmage to help him, open up some of those running holes?
Yeah, you hope that's what they're able to do. So some signs that, you talk about with progress or the growth and opening up this playbook in the preseason when Baker Mayfield was out on the field. And granted, this is an incredibly small sample size, but they would line 3 tight ends out on the field and then going up and empty. So the defense has to bring out their base package, even maybe an extra linebacker to try to match that. And then they're passing, right? So I think you can see the inverse of that, where you're going to start putting out 3 and 4 wide receivers and have Nick Chubb in there or a Kareem Hunt in there and run the ball, which then opens up those lighter boxes, because they ran it into stacked boxes one of the highest rates in the NFL last year. Nick Chubb actually does really well against that. He can, once he gets to that second level, he breaks that tackle and he's gone. But over time, that's just not going to be a sustainable product on the run game. So you have to be able to, one of the things that the Chiefs do, which is obviously a week one opponent for the Browns, they line up in a spread formation and they run it from that spread formation, and they are successful from that because they're running into lighter boxes. So I do think that Stefanski is going to try to utilize that more this year. And there's some good signs in the preseason.
So we've talked about the offensive side of the football. Let's move over to the defensive spotlight. And, I think one of the biggest areas the Browns have improved their game and improved their team is the overall team speed. When you look at, player for player, position for position, Browns have athletes, in my opinion, at every single position. And one of the guys who I don't think people understand, and I'm so excited about, and I'm not even mentioning Jadeveon Clowney yet. I'm not mentioning Myles Garrett. I'm not talking about Denzel Ward. I'm talking about a guy that didn't make the squad. I'm talking about a guy who just came out of nowhere and hasn't played football in such a long period of time. But I'm so excited about Malik McDowell and what he can do in terms of pushing the pocket up front. When you can get a push in someone's face, and you can, even if he does what he did against Atlanta, knocking guys back in Patrick Mahomes' lap, it's going to collapse a pocket, and it's going to be an asset to the Browns as they try to stop Travis Kelce, as they try to stop Tyreek Hill. Malik McDowell came out of nowhere. What are some things that you think he can be able to do? And do you think he's going to play a big role in the game against Kansas City?
Maybe, they probably wanted to ease him into things, but I think what he's shown in preseason, he was the highest graded defensive player for the Cleveland Browns at an 89.6. His pass rush graded an 86.6. He was a monster out there. He had a couple of sacks. I think they want to try to get him more involved. I don't know if they're going to give him full-time snaps right off the bat, but they definitely are going to have a good role for him because he is that explosive athlete. He can push the pocket. And especially with this Kansas City Chiefs offensive line, they have all 5 new starters. It's not as if they're bringing back anybody. I like the players that they have there that they brought in, but they have to gel together. And it's tough to do that in just a preseason, even just an off season. At least they have the same, from their perspective, they have the same offensive system, that they're not trying to teach them a new system and also try to get these guys to gel together. But Malik McDowell, if he can get out there and do 30 to 40 snaps in this game, that's going to be, good for should be good for the Browns, because he can push that pocket against the interior offensive lineman.
And what goes along with some of the things, I'm already marketing this Greyhound package. I need all of our speed and athleticism on the field at one time. And one of the guys who we saw peak a little bit, JOK, and we saw another one of our rookies, Newsom. Those guys look to be able to, stay on the field, get on the field, and actually have an impact on the field, especially given the way that Kansas City likes to play. I've been talking to Mary Kay Cabot at Cleveland.com. I talked to Daryl Ryder, beat reporter 92.3 The Fan. They're under the assumption that Newsom and possibly JOK could be getting starters type snaps in terms of this game coming up. What's your thoughts on what Newsom has shown in the preseason, and what is he going to be? What is his task, coming up here against Kansas City?
Well, so for Greg Newsom, his grade this preseason wasn't great. It was a 54.4. There was a couple of plays that kind of tanked that grade, especially when you don't have as many snaps and coverage, only 33 snaps. But part of that is there was a lot of miscommunications that were going on with the second. He was mostly out there with the second team units that were playing, and there was a lot of miscommunications in the secondary with that. And so part of that is maybe it's not so much on him. And when you get like a John Johnson out there and kind of, navigating and getting that ship right, maybe those miscommunications won't happen. But it is kind of something that I expect to happen, are those miscommunications. I think Greg Newsom, though, explosive athlete, and he can play through the ball. He's always sticky in coverage. He's rarely going to be out of position, even with some, maybe some rookie issues that he will have. But I think from his, his explosiveness, his speed and stuff like that is going to be vital for this team. And you make a good point with he might be seeing starter snaps because the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be out there in 3 and 4 wide receiver sets. He's going to have to be out there and playing. And because the speed that the Kansas City Chiefs offense has, you have to be able to match that with speed. So if you have at least five defensive backs out there, he's going to be one of those cornerbacks that are out there, especially if Grant Delpit's not quite ready to go. And even Greedy Williams maybe not be ready to go.
Yes. So we reached our first commercial break, but I will also want to say this. If you appreciate what we're doing, if you appreciate the show, if you appreciate, what we put into this, make sure you donate. Make sure the Cash App is there as well. The PayPal is there as well. We appreciate you guys subscribing to the channel. We will be here 17 weeks. We'll be rocking with you. You guys out there. We'll be doing a preview show so you can get your fix of the Browns. You can get your fix of around the AFC. If you're just a fan of football, please subscribe to the channel. Please donate on Cash App or PayPal, and we greatly appreciate it. Coming up next, we'll take a little trip and spin around the AFC, and we'll pick our games of the week in the AFC North. It's the Cleveland Browns preview show on the Barbershop Network. Welcome back to the Browns preview show on the Barbershop Network. G.Bush and Kosko here. We're going to take a little spin around the AFC North. Let's get to that first game, John. I think it's a really good one. We got the Minnesota Vikings at the Cincinnati Bengals. That's a 1:00 game on Fox. What do you see in this game? An opportunity to see Joe Burrow back after the injury, get an opportunity to see Jamar Chase, some of those really interesting guys down there. What do you like about this matchup and how you see it playing out?
Yeah, I think the big story is what Joe Burrow is going to look like coming back from his injury. I know he had 3 snaps in the preseason, which is kind of like a joke almost, just to kind of get him out there. But I think, he's a prospect that I really loved coming out. And he did look really good as a rookie. His grade last year was a 75.1 for a rookie, which is, excellent stuff. So I think him coming back and seeing how comfortable he is just kind of like facing down the rush will be my biggest thing. And I think that if he can, manage that, the offensive line is not great. He's got the weapons to be able to make some plays.
On the other side, you got the Minnesota Vikings, Justin Jefferson, one of the best rookie receivers coming out. Just goes to show you that these guys running these offenses and stuff. You can find a nice, solid receiver. It doesn't have to be a top 10 guy. It can be anywhere in the mix. And Kirk Cousins is still there. Got one of the most dynamic backs in Dalvin Cook in the backfield. Are you bullish or bearish on the Vikings this year? Where do you think their ceiling is in terms of what they can be in the NFC?
Yeah, I think they can be a playoff contender. With Kirk Cousins as your quarterback, you're never going to be a Super Bowl contender, in my opinion. He's a fine quarterback. I think he's
not in the Kirk Cousins mood. You're not in that Kirk Cousins camp then, huh? All right.
He's a fine quarterback, right? He grades well. He kind of operates your offense like you want it to be run, but he doesn't like make the plays. So like, big time throw rate of his is under 4%. Baker Mayfield had almost 6% last year. So you're talking about Baker being able to throw it down the field and outside of structure and make plays, where Kirk Cousins is going to run your offense. He's going to do it efficiently, but he's not going to be that guy that's going to take you over the top, right? So I think the Minnesota Vikings they always have a really solid team. Last year was kind of like an aberration with this. They just weren't, the defense wasn't as good. Mike Zimmer at defense usually is a stout type defense. They made some moves this offseason to try to fix that up. And I think that the offense will, you got Dalvin Cook, you've got Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen. They got weapons. So I think they can, that offense is still going to be really good. It's just a matter of if that defense can come together now.
Who do you got in that game?
I think the Minnesota Vikings are going to win it. I don't know if Joe Burrow is quite ready to be back. And, I think there's be some cobwebs that, the Bengals had to make a lot of moves on defense as well this offseason. I think it's going to take them more time to kind of come together with that defense.
All right, let's go to game number 2, 1:00 start. This is this is on CBS. This is going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Buffalo Bills. I'm going to be honest with you, man. This could be a sneaky game in the week. One of the better games. Early game. The Pittsburgh Steelers will be at full strength. They're an older team in terms of what they got, but at the skill positions, Pittsburgh has some of the best skill positions, guys, especially receivers and backs. The offensive line is their issue. And then you got the Buffalo Bills, who a lot of people are picking as not even a dark horse, as one of the teams that's going to, consistently be in the mix all year to go to the Super Bowl. Josh Allen is an MVP candidate. Stephon Diggs is a legitimate top 5 receiver. What do you like in this game and how you see this playing out?
Yeah, I think that for the Pittsburgh Steelers, it kind of depends on Ben Roethlisberger. Last year, he really kind of tried to revamp his game. He was a type of quarterback that used to hold onto the ball forever, kind of, bounce around in the pocket, let defenders bounce off of him before making a throw down the field. And last year, he was throwing it the quickest in the NFL at something like 2.3 seconds, and average time to throw, which is incredibly quick. It's like a Tom Brady, Peyton Manning type quickness in terms of in the pocket. But that's not his game, and he struggled with it. He I know that he looked really good in the one preseason game that he played, but I mean, we're talking about a 17 game season plus, playoffs. He doesn't have the arm strength that he used to have. So it's going to be interesting to see how he can because they have the weapons. The offensive line's not great, but if he can, make the plays with his arm, that offense can be really good, regardless of the offensive line not being up to snuff.
When I look at it, I like the Steelers. I think they'll be around 500. I don't think they're just going to fall off a wagon. But at the end of the day, I think the Bills are going to line up and they're going to get in 4 wide and 5 wide and be like, hey, we just going to throw this ball and you going to stop me? I don't think they can stop them. I got the Bills in this game. What do you say, you?
Yeah, Bills as well. I think if Josh Allen repeats what he's able to do last year, even do 80% of what he did last year, they're going to be, another, they're definitely going to make the playoffs, and they're going to be a better team than the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Let's go to our last AFC North matchup. This is a Monday night affair. It's going to be 8:15 on ESPN and ESPN2. We got the Baltimore Ravens at Las Vegas Raiders. I'm interested in seeing what that crowd is going to be like, and have an opportunity to watch Las Vegas be in Las Vegas. The Ravens are going to come in there The J.K. Dobbins injury really hurt them, in my opinion, in terms of what they want to do with running the football. You look at this game, and I think this game definitely favors the Raiders a little bit because, I think when you got, David Carr is an underrated guy to me. It seems just like Gruden wants to get rid of him, and he's not too much of a fan of him, but they got a accurate quarterback. I saw David Carr come over here and just complete like every pass against the Browns last year. Just seemed like he just couldn't miss. Darren Waller is one of the the best tight ends in the game, and they're at home. I think this is a game where I actually like the Raiders in this game, and I think they can actually compete and hold up with the Ravens. What do you think about this game and moving forward, and what this could hold for the Ravens?
Yeah, I think Derek Carr is extremely underrated. I don't know if he's going to be, I didn't rank him in my top 10 quarterbacks, but he's like right on the cusp of that. He graded an 84.7 last year. His big time throw rate is, one of the best in the NFL, and he always protects the ball. So I think one of his issues is that he tends to be a little bit too conservative at times when
Check
it needs,
down, God.
yeah, he needs to be more aggressive with his play. Right. So, but I still think that he's a really good quarterback because he's accurate. He's got the arm strength. He's got everything. I think with Gruden's system, he's getting better. And I think he has the tools to be a really good quarterback. It's just more of the mindset thing, above the shoulders. And this Raiders offense is really good. Like they were a top 10 offense last year, and I don't think a lot of people really kind of understood that. Their defense was atrocious. Their defense is awful, and that's what I expect this game to be a barn burner because I think the Raiders can score on anybody in any, basically in any situation, except for maybe, when it's a monsoon and they're playing the Browns where it's 16-6, but they're an offense that can really, really put up points on the board. So this one I think is actually can be a really close game. The Ravens, they're right that their style of football, like you talk about like losing a running back, for most teams, it's not a big of a deal, but their style of football and the way they want to play, it does make a difference. I love Gus Edwards as their backup running back, and now he's going to be the starter. He's super efficient and everything, but it's tough. This one's a really close one. I know the spread on this is like 4.5 points or whatever. I think it's a lot closer than that. I think this is going to be like a 34-31 type game. Maybe the Ravens squeak it out in the end.
All right. So listen, let's get to it, man. So we went around the AFC North a little bit. Now let's get to the beast at hand. Let's get behind the enemy lines and let's intro the Kansas City Chiefs. When we get into the Kansas City Chiefs, obviously they came off a loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes for the first time for me looked like he's a normal guy. He looked like he had some, he had some warts. He had some things that he wasn't the greatest at. And so I think coming off that, the Kansas City Chiefs retooled the offensive line. They've done a lot of different things in order to kind of, get back to where they want to go to. With the Kansas City Chiefs, where do you think they need to go offensively? If they're operating at peak performance, I think they're hard to beat with anybody. But what do you think is missing with the Kansas City Chiefs, and how close are they to getting back to where they want to go?
I think they're missing a number 3 wide receiver, like a legit number 3 weapon. Obviously, you have, and something's just going haywire with your video over there.
There we go. We right back. We're gonna act like that never happened. We're gonna edit that. The great part of editing, right?
Yes, that's true. Could be funny though, right? If you leave it in.
Yeah, like that never happened, dog. We can leave that.
Never happened. Never happened. But yeah, so I think that with the Kansas City Chiefs, they really need a number 3 wide receiver. Obviously, they have Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, 2 of the best in the NFL, but then they're kind of like suspect at that number 3 wide receiver position, or at third weapon option. Mecole Hardman is a solid player. Demarcus Robinson's a solid player, but they really don't have anybody that kind of stepped up into that where you can really rely on a third weapon. Because if you cover Hill and Kelce, where's Mahomes going to go with the ball? With a reliable option right there. I don't think they have that. You look the difference of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're like 5 deep at the wide receiver position where you're comfortable throwing it to any of those guys. And that's kind of why they won the Super Bowl is Tom Brady goes, okay, Mike Evans is covered. Okay, well, Chris Godwin's covered. Well, Antonio Brown's covered. Rob Gronkowski's covered.
That's kind of cheating. I'm now starting
Cameron
to think
Brate's
about that.
covered.
I don't like that. I don't like
Just on and on and on. They have the weapons. So that's why, like, you have these options, and the Kansas City Chiefs, I think, have made a couple of mistakes in terms of how they've drafted over the past couple of seasons. Instead of going for like another wide receiver, and they went with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, which it doesn't really add much to their offense, right? So but I still think that the Kansas City Chiefs offense, they're going to be that you can't stop them, but I think there's things that you can do to stop them, which is getting a ton of pressure on Patrick Mahomes and being able to cover Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. That's a tall task. It doesn't happen very often. It happens very rarely, but that's kind of like the warts that the Kansas City Chiefs have. And with a brand new offensive line this year, like everybody's new, they saw the issues that they had when they didn't have good offensive linemen out there. They wanted to make sure that they shored that up. And they made the steps to try to do that.
When you look at it, offensively, we know that they have what it takes. I mean, it's gonna, as long as you got a couple them 3 people that you just mentioned, they're gonna get points. They're gonna score. The defense for me is something where it's kind of they're one of those middle of the road teams. I guess it's like you don't never see them getting lit up. Like there's a couple games where somebody might run the ball and then they'll show the run up. Then somebody might throw the ball really well, and it's like, okay, but then the next couple games, they shut the pass down. It's not like you just go in and be like, oh, I'm just going to exploit this, and it just works. They still have, the honey badger who roams around and does a good job of covering middle thirds of the field. They got some guys up front that can rush the passer. They don't have any really linebackers to speak of, but they don't get gashed too much in the run game.
Matter.
They do a decent job in the pass game. It's just like they're a team where you almost have to put them behind the 8 ball. You almost have to be like, hey, you're down 14 and we got the ball. But it's kind of hard to do that because you got to stop them first.
You got to stop them first. And then even when you do stop them and you're up, you saw what happened in their Super Bowl run where they went down 24-0. And I tweeted out, it's like, this is nothing. Patrick Mahomes can score 4 touchdowns in a quarter, and boom, he did. And then took this basically broke their backs. And that's the thing about this team. You can never take your foot off the gas, no matter how many points you get up on them, because they can score in the blink of an eye and literally in a couple of plays because they have that offensive firepower and those weapons. So with their defense, you're right with their defense. There's nothing spectacular about their defense, but they are decently deep in terms of this quality depth. Nothing star power. Obviously, the honey badger, Tyrann Mathieu is a star type power player. Chris Jones is a absolute stud of a defensive tackle, but really the rest of their defense are just kind of guys that are quality players, and they run that system well. Steve Spagnuolo, their defensive coordinator, is a really good defensive coordinator, knows how to utilize those guys. And then also he does what he does is disguise what he's running every single time. He has rotations in that secondary to make you think just a little bit longer of, all right, what are they running man here? Are they zone? What kind of zone are they in? All that stuff. So their defense isn't going to be, lights out by any means, but they're good enough to kind of make, to hold teams at bay usually, which is plenty enough for Patrick Mahomes to outscore.
Let's talk about the keys to the game. We've talked about a little bit about who, and we know who the Kansas City Chiefs are. So we've talked about them offensively and defensively. What is the best way for the Cleveland Browns to attack this team? We haven't seen exactly what they're going to do. We know that the Browns are a traditional run team. They ran a lot of play action last year. But you do have Odell Beckham Jr. come back. You do have, Schwartz, who they throw a deep ball to last week. You do have some different things they've showed with Demetric Felton. You do have Jarvis Landry and David Njoku, who by the way has gotten better too, and is a red zone target as well. Just go watch that Giants practice when he was just basically going up over people, getting the ball all the time. What is the best way and the best plan of attack for the Browns to go into Arrowhead and get a victory? Is it the run game and punishing them, or you just got to come in and score every single play? And if that means throwing the ball, you got to.
You've got to score every single drive you got there, mostly touchdowns. And whether or not you do that by the ground or by the air, I'd prefer it by the air, because I think they're going to come in there expecting a ground and pound type game. So you go out there in early downs, slinging it, spreading out that defense. If you go out there in 2-3 wide receiver sets, 2 or 3 tight end sets, maybe throw it. And then if you're putting out there 3 wide receiver, 4 wide receiver sets, maybe run it, so that they don't know what's coming at you and that you can always keep them on their heels. So instead of them dictating things by rotating their safeties and, putting pressure and putting these blitz packages out there, get creative with your offense to kind of put that defense on their heels, but never knowing what's coming at you. And I think you're going to have to do that by slinging it. And Baker Mayfield has that ability. And I think the weapons are there this year to be able to do that. And then from a defensive perspective, you've got to move just like how I said with how the Kansas City Chiefs run their defense, where they're constantly rotating their safeties and making it, that quarterback second guess themselves. That's what the Browns need to do. They need to make it so that Patrick Mahomes doesn't know what coverage is out there, and he has to hold on to it for longer than he wants to. And then that allows the pressure to get there.
Let's go ahead and get this out of the way right now. Is this a rush 4 type game, or is this a more of a blitz and mix game?
I would say that it's a blitz and mix game where you're rushing forward, but you're blitzing. So you're doing lots of zone type blitzes and also man blitzes. So if you can got to get pressure on him, you got to get after Patrick Mahomes, but you also have to be able to lock it down in the back end. So I think if you can get pressure with 4 by doing things like zone pressures, where maybe dropping the defensive end and blitzing a safety or a linebacker or something like that, that'll be ideal, because then it allows you to keep guys in coverage while not sacrificing potentially the big play or something.
Let's talk about the X factors. For me, I really believe I'm more of a let's come out and throw this football. And the reason I say that is because you're not going to have to worry about weather. That's not going to be a thing. And I just feel like you got to get some of these guys touches. I wanted Odell Beckham got to get a touch. And I know people, please don't start that already, G.Bush. Don't start the force the ball to Odell thing. But listen, there's different ways you can get people the ball. If it's slants, if it's a bubble screen, if it's if I got to get David Njoku a pass, or I want to come out running or passing, so that if it get tight, we ready to go. My guys are already loose in the rest in the flow of the game. If we come out milking the clock and, playing ball control, it could be third quarter and you got guys getting their first touch. I want to get out there. And like you said, we got to score every time we got the ball. My X factor is Baker Mayfield coming out hot, throwing the ball on rhythm, on time. And that's the X factor of the game to me. What do you say?
My X factor is going to be OBJ, because I think that's the biggest difference between this game and the playoff game that the Browns had with the Chiefs in back in January. They didn't have OBJ, which makes the defenses defend the Browns differently because of the talent he is. So how will they, instead of Jarvis Landry going up against their number 1 cornerback and having some double coverages and rolled coverages his way where he's not able to get open, now you're having to do that to OBJ, who can get open against those types of coverages and allows everybody else to get freed up against lesser opponents, defenders, and getting them open more often. So I think that even if OBJ doesn't have, I say 5 catches, 100 yards and a touchdown type game, he's a type of his presence out there, and if he can have maybe a couple of explosive plays early on, it will open up that offense so much more. It'll get that defense on their heels, because they go, oh, this guy's back, we remember him, he's an explosive athlete, he was a top 5 wide receiver for 4 years, and now all of a sudden where'd he go? So he's back. So I think if they can get him involved in the game early, and he can do that with explosive plays, it will, open things up for the Browns.
Let me go to my X factor on defense. Listen, I can go a lot of different places. I can say some corners. I can say a lot of different things. But like you said, I'm going to the person that wasn't there when we had an opportunity last year. And I know what Myles Garrett is coming with. I need to see Jadeveon Clowney. I need to see you flash today, big fella. You're a number 1 overall pick. You in a draft. You were in a contract here. If you want to get paid, if you want to show that you have resurrected your career, there is no better way than come out here and show out opposite of Myles Garrett. You're not seeing no doubles. You're not going to be getting double teams. They're not sliding the protection to you. You got a one-on-one chicken dinner on the other side with all the fixings. And they got 5 new starters. You got to eat, big homie. You got to eat, big dog. Right now, the Browns, that was the difference between last year and this year. We got 2 defensive ends that can harass, corral, and match up to the athleticism of your boy, Patrick Mahomes. I say the X factor of the game, I need to see some Jadeveon Clowney. What do you say?
You make a good point with that. I'll just add that he most likely will be going up against a right tackle that's not played any snaps in the NFL, in Lucas Niang. So I think that's how you pronounce his last name. So he should be able to, make some pay.
Come on,
make
dog.
Pay dirt. So
we can't even pronounce his name. Yeah, that's his name. This guy's from Pro Football Focus. He like, I don't even know, dog. He ain't played no snaps. Get your money.
TCU 3rd rounder. So I wasn't high on him. He had some issues coming out with movement skills and just you're getting your pass set. So we'll see what he can do. But my X factor on defense is John Johnson, because again, what you didn't have last year, you have this year, and the upgrade from Andrew Sendejo and Carl Joseph. And I couldn't even remember his name. Even though 23. Carl Joseph had that pick, right?
Yeah.
It's still like that's one play. John Johnson is an upgrade on every single play that he's out there over those guys. So I think for me, it's him, because he's going to have this defense he's going to be in the right positions every single time. Well, not I'm going to say every single time, but most of the time he's always going to be in the right positions. He's been around the league at a high level in one of the best defenses in the NFL last year. He's going to be able to help make sure that this defense is on track, and he's a stud. So I think, the difference between Andrew Sendejo and John Johnson is immense.
And here we go. Finally, we've got to the point of the show. You got to put your name, your money, and your integrity on the line. The picks of integrity are coming up. Who do you have winning this football game? Who do you have as the player of the game? And what is the final score? I will put my name on the line first. I know we've been moving around and we've been talking about this, but there's no way in hell that I plan on saying that the Cleveland Browns on week 1 are taking an L to nobody. At the end of the day, the Cleveland Browns are just as talented as the Kansas City Chiefs. Am I saying it's going to be easy? No. Am I going to say it's going to be a blowout? No. But here's the fact. The Browns got a team that can get busy. I got the Cleveland Browns going into Arrowhead, and I think they win by 10. It's a high-scoring affair.
Ooh.
They win by 10. I got the Cleveland Browns 37-27. And I'm going to tell you what, they do throw the ball often. And Baker Mayfield, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, but he threw for 342. I got him for 342, and he looked good doing it. Browns 37-27. What do you say?
Oh, man. So I've got I got a high scoring game. But I think when you look at this, right? So Browns defense holding the Chiefs to 27 points. I don't know with Patrick Mahomes. So I think for me, Patrick Mahomes is going to score at least 34, maybe 37. But
5 touchdowns on the Browns. Hey,
he's going to. He's probably going to have a 3 or 4 touchdown game with, probably 300 some 400, close to 400 yards. I think it's going to be a barn burner where you're talking like 37-34, probably the Chiefs. I know that the spread is 6.5 points. I think both offenses are going to look like awesome out there. They're going to be moving up and down the field. And I think the Chiefs are probably going to win it with a field goal at the end of the game.
Tell you what, I'm gonna tell you what, the champ ain't folding. The champ is not folding. The champ is not folding. I'm wearing the belt. I got the belt on. The Cleveland Browns, according to the champ, come out of this thing with that 10-point victory. As a matter of fact, I need to see you down there. If you ain't at the game, if you're not at the tailgate coming to see the champ, you're playing yourself. Be down at West 6. We ready to go. It's going to be a barn burner. The champ is here. You see him, the gold. I'm going to tell you what, it's going to be a great year. John Kosko, I appreciate you as always.
My pleasure.
And
Always a fun time.
Yes. As always, too, if you appreciate what we bring into the table, this fair, this unadulterated, just over the top atmosphere here in the barbershop in the pregame show, ain't nobody doing it like this. Please support the channel. Please subscribe to the channel. Please donate on Cash App. Please donate on PayPal. And we want to thank every single person for watching this. And here's what we're going to say. Go Browns. Because I tell you what, I got a feeling. We'll catch you now. It's the Browns pregame show here on the Barbershop Network. The champ is here. The champ is in the building. You know what?